The collection was donated in 2003 and came in a number of consignments. Some of the material was actually dropped off to the collection by Kylie's parents, Ron and Carol Minogue. The collection is really complete. The fact that the costumes come directly from Kylie, all the stories and the history are still very much intact, so we get a direct line of communication from the performer, this case being Kylie, where we can, tell the stories that she tells us. The museum dress is significant for quite a number of reasons. The fact that it was actually created as a gift to the Art Centre, it became the signature image of the Kylie exhibition, which has gone on to tour around the UK as well as Australia. But also it shows her love of costume, and it also shows the fact that she's very aware of the stories that she's actually preserving by handing it over to a collection such as ours. Kylie was involved in the design process for the dress. When you look at the costume itself in the flesh, she's actually gathered a whole lot of bits of fabric and trims that have been incorporated into a number of really iconic images. The costume is a combination of all those amazing images that we're all so familiar with, as well as elements of the costumes that she's loved. This was one of the first of Kylie's costumes to come into the collection. It was donated back in 1991. It was actually worn for her very first international tour called Enjoy Yourself, and that was in 1990. Designed by Australian designer Nicole Bonathan. It's a good example to show where Kylie started off and the fact that she was working with quite local Australian designers. The showgirl costume, designed by Kylie herself and her stylist William Baker for her Intimate and Live tour in 1998, is again significant on lots of different levels. Firstly, I guess it's the unveiling of the showgirl persona that she's gone on to revisit over a number of her tours, and it seems to be perhaps the most loved image of Kylie. The budget for Intimate and Live was obviously of a much smaller scale, and it's interesting that there's a lot of stories that have come out of just that alone, and the fact that they had made a decision when this costume was designed that all the beadwork and the sequin work would actually be done by hand. And I think over time they realised how much work was involved in that, and it led to basically Kylie, her mum and her nana, and William Baker, her stylist, actually all sitting around Kylie's kitchen table in Melbourne sewing on those sequins and that beadwork up until the very last minute before the show. The headdress for this costume was designed by Philip Rhodes. At this stage the headdress is quite restrained, but over time the headdress has become more and more spectacular. This was designed by Julian MacDonald for Kylie's On a Night Like This tour, which was in 2000. It's a really good example of how complete a costume can be in her collection, because it also has the headdress as well as the shoes. The headdress was designed by a well-known English milliner, Stephen Jones. The shoes were actually designed by Manolo Blahnik, and there are quite a few of Manolo Blahnik's shoes in the Kylie collection. Kylie's mastered the art of being able to perform fairly rigorous, complex dance routines in very high heels, as well as being able to go up and down quite often quite long flights of stairs that are part of the stage set. This belt was designed by Julian MacDonald for Kylie's On a Night Like This tour in 2000. And when Kylie handed the collection over to the Performing Arts Collection, she actually was quite keen for visitors to see the elements of wear and tear that particularly tour costumes have over time. And this one's a good example of that. You can sort of see where the Swarovski crystals have come away from the leather in this area here, just from probably really quick changes over time, many performances. The costume collection holds lots of memories for Kylie herself about the performance, and Kylie actually came in at some stage and visited the storage area, and it was interesting to see her reaction to this dress when she pulled it out. It was actually worn for the Fever 2002 Kylie tour, and was designed by Dolce & Gabbana as the entire tour was, and this was the act that she performed the song The Crying Game in. And as well as being quite an emotional performance itself, she also actually had to get up and down quite a big staircase with a very long train on her high heels, as always, but also the very quick change she had to get into the dress in a matter of probably seconds. And it all came flooding back to her when she actually held out the costume and had a look at it, and all the costumes have that lovely element of memory and performance captured in them. Kylie revisited the showgirl in quite a spectacular way when she launched her showgirl tour in 2005. It started with this costume, which was actually designed by John Galliano, and it was in the style of the Las Vegas showgirl. And again, it was very heavily beaded, but this time with Swarovski crystals, as well as quite an ornate headdress of ostrich feathers and quite a large and quite heavy bustle, which would have been quite difficult, I'd say, to move in and dance in. I Should Be So Lucky was Kylie's first single with Stock Aitken and Waterman from the album Kylie, which was released in 1988. The costume was designed by Australian designer Jenny Bannister, and I think it captures the innocence that people associated with Kylie at that time, and in particular through her character as Charlene on Neighbours, which was becoming more and more well known. These are probably the earliest shoes that we have in Kylie's collection. They're from the Rhythm of Love album photo shoot from 1990. A good example of, again, the height of the shoe that Kylie tends to favour. The costume collection reflects all the different phases that Kylie has gone through as a performer, and particularly as a recording artist. And many people remember this phase particularly was when she actually was working with an independent recording label, Deconstruction, and this signalled a new direction for Kylie as a recording artist. The single was released in 1997 and showed Kylie's sense of humour, if you like, and the fact that she's able to use costume to create new characters, because in this video there are actually 4 Kylies, all given the labels that the media have pretty much given her throughout her performing career. One of them was Cute Kylie, this one was actually Dance Kylie, then there was Indie Kylie and Sex Kylie, and the 4 Kylies pretty much battled it out for supremacy throughout the video. And I guess it's a good sort of healthy way of showing that Kylie can actually embrace the way she's been perceived throughout the years. The video for Spinning Around, which was released in 2000, turned Kylie's career around. The major focus of the video seemed to be the gold hot pants. The story goes that they were found in a flea market for 50p and pulled out of the wardrobe the night before the video. They've since gone on to become quite a legend in their own right. The white hooded jumpsuit for the video Can't Get You Out of My Head was designed by English designer Fiona Duran. It again has become quite an iconic costume. The costume really comes to life when it's in motion. The weight of the fabric and the way that the actual costume was cut was all very cleverly considered, and you can actually see all those amazing design elements when Kylie moves in the clip. Because the collection is so complete chronologically, we're actually able to chart Kylie's development as a performer through the costumes that she's worn in particular videos throughout her career. This one was actually designed by Helmut Lang, and I guess that reflects her status from, the very early days working with Australian designers through to these internationally renowned designers. This was Kylie's first Mardi Gras performance. It was designed by Zen Pardo Miles, an Australian designer. The collection holds a number of costumes from one-off performances just like this one. They show the level of care and consideration that gets put into these very quick performances that are sometimes just as memorable as her tours and her music videos. This costume was designed by English designer Owen Gaster. It was worn for a performance of the duet that Kylie recorded with Nick Cave, Where the Wild Roses Grow, on the Top of the Pops in 1995. This costume was designed by Michael Wilkinson, For the closing ceremony of the Olympic Games in Sydney in 2000, Kylie performed her hit single On a Night Like This. Kylie wore this costume to perform a duet with Justin Timberlake for the Brit Awards in 2003. And there's a story that goes along with it that's actually relayed by the designer Julian MacDonald. The nature of the performance actually changed quite considerably, quite close to the actual performance, and Julian MacDonald offered this dress as a replacement and was quite shocked to see when he watched the awards that night that the dress had actually been slashed from what had been a floor-length gown with a beautiful fishtail to become quite a spectacular micro-mini. We also have the costumes that Kylie's worn on the red carpet. And again, we're able to see the very early days, like this one that she wore when she went to the Logies Awards in 1989, and it was an important moment for her then because she'd sort of scooped the pool and won, I think, about 4 Logie Awards that year. Kylie was involved in the design process. She worked on it with Gursel Ali, who was working in the Neighbours wardrobe department at the time, and then all the way through to Martine Sitbon, a French designer who actually designed her Grammy Awards dress. So you can see topping and tailing of her career.